meeting, but we've got a lot to get through tonight, and we're just now really starting. This is the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. If we could just get folks to be a little bit more quiet, I would really appreciate it. Those folks. Could the administration table maybe just, thank you. Public comment pursuant to Section 844.112 of the Tennessee Code. Annotated time is reserved for public comment on legislative items appearing on this agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak may sign up on the council committee sign-up sheet posted outside the room where the committee is scheduled to meet. Public comment sign up for council committee meetings will end immediately before the meeting begins. Public comment is limited to 8 minutes total at the council committee meetings, and each speaker is allowed up to 2 minutes to speak. All public comment speakers must present proof of Tennessee residency. Requests for interpretation services and or accessibility accommodations should be directed to the council office at 615-862-6780. We have one person signed up for council for public comment tonight, Manon Hall, on RS 2025-1610 in support. And Mr. Hall, I will now recognize you.
Hi, I want to read off the names of those who were killed, pedestrians and cyclists, between Craighead and Haywood on Nolensville. I hope that these funds will eliminate any more names to be added to this list. And these are from 2019. Lino Vargas Gutierrez, Julian Escovadia Luna, Kenneth Cisco, Emily Sanchez Ramirez, La Toon, Ruben Hernandez Aguilar, Ethelinda Wooten, Hassan Jackson, Dustin James Brumley, Mark Vandalove, Taylor Wayne Smith, and Like Fansler. I want those names to be remembered. I want them to be honored in making this road safer and eliminating all road fatalities in Nashville. And I hope we can do this throughout every single street, that no other names would be added to this list. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. All right. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I just about turned off everybody's mic, which is not, and shut down the whole system, so apologies. We have no further public comment. Everything is on consent today except for items number 1, RS 2025-1592, item number 7, BL 2025-1063, and item number 9, BL 2025-1108. Does anybody want to pull anything else from consent? All right, seeing none, I will read the consent agenda. Item number 2, RS 2025-1609, a resolution approving a contract between the Metropolitan Government, Nashville and Davidson County, and CDK Enterprises, LLC, DBA Southern Lighting and Traffic Systems to provide oyster lidar system and, I didn't know how to turn it off without turning the whole system off. I'm sorry. To provide oyster lidar system and oyster blue city analytics for the purpose of enhancing pedestrian safety and improving traffic management throughout Davidson County. Sponsors Toombs, Evan Siegel, and Ewing. Item number 3, RS 2025-1610, a resolution accepting a Safe Streets for All grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure to address safety issues along Nolensville Pike related to substandard and or missing walking, biking, and transit facilities, the need for pedestrian scale lighting, and a lack of crossing locations present throughout the project area. Sponsors Toombs, Evan Siegel, Welch, Bow, Johnston, Nash, Sepulveda, Gad, and Hill. Item number 4, RS 2025-1611, a resolution approving an application for a recycling rebate grant from the Tennessee Department of Environmental and Conservation to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Nashville Department of Waste Services to produce curbside recycling carts and use AI technology to identify contamination and recycling. Sponsors Toombs, Evan Siegel, Gad, and Ewing. Item number 5, RS 2025-1612, a resolution accepting the terms of cooperative purchasing master agreement with Envirosite LLC for sewer inspection equipment for the Department of Water and Sewer Services. Sponsors Toombs and Evan Siegel. Item number 6, RS 2025-1614, resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon fire hydrant assembly and to accept new public water main and fire hydrant assembly for property located at 1718 Jefferson Street, also known as 1712 Jefferson Development. Sponsors Horton and Evan Siegel. Item number 8, an ordinance approving a greenway conservation easement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County through the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation and Beezer Homes LLC for greenway improvements at Zero Kemp Drive. Sponsors Evans, Toombs, Evan Siegel, Horton, Vo, Welsh, Gad, Hill, Allen, and Ewing. Item number 10, BL 2025-1109, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer main, holes, and easements for property located at 935 Barnes Road, sponsored Rutherford Horton and Evan Siegel. Item number 11, BL 2025-1110, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water main and easements and to accept new public water main, the relocation of fire hydrant assemblies and easements for property located at 2415 Vanderbilt Place, also known as Vanderbilt University Stevenson Center 6, sponsors Cash, Horton, Evan Siegel, and Hill. Item number 12, BL 2025-1111, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville, Davidson County to abandon existing public water main, fire hydrant assembly and easements and to accept new public water main, fire hydrant assemblies and easements for two properties located at 1 Titans Way and 100 Woodland Street, also known as South 2nd Street, Phase 2, sponsors Scobey, Horton, and Evan Siegel. Item number 13, BL 2025-1112, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water main, fire hydrant assembly and easements for two properties located at 1 Titans Way and 100 Woodland Street, also known as South 2nd Street, Phase 3, sponsors Scobey, Horton, and Evan Siegel. Does anybody need to pull anything else from the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, all in favor of the consent agenda? Any opposed? Any not voting? Oh, yeah. Ellis did not come back. All right. Item number 1, RS 2025-1592, resolution approving a grants subaward agreement between Johns Hopkins University and the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Office of the Mayor as part of the Bloomberg American Sustainable Cities Grant Project, sponsors Toombs, Evan Siegel, Welsh, and Ewing. Can I get a motion? All right, it has been moved and seconded. I pulled this from the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions before I ask mine? Okay. I was just hoping the administration could talk a little bit about what this grant's going to do. Who from the Oh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dave Rosenberg, the Mayor's Office. This is money that will go to Bloomberg American Sustainable Cities work. We've got an innovation team that's part of that project that is working on sustainability issues in Metro. And as part of that program, there is a $120,000 grant, really $60,000, 2 years in a row, that is guaranteed to the city to help fund the non-salary part of the work that they're doing. And this is that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Anybody have any questions? All right. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, that's 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting to approve. Item number 11, and BL 2025-1063, an ordinance amending certain sections and subsections of Chapter 2.62, Chapter 12.56, and Title 13 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to modify fees charged by the National Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure and make various other changes. Sponsors Toombs and Evan Siegel. Can I get a motion? All right, it has been moved and seconded. There are a bunch of amendments on this. Before we get into that, does anybody have any questions? All right. Councilmember Parker, you look like you are first up, sir.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Amendment 1.
All right. Do we have a second? All right. Would you like to describe the amendment?
Sure. I'm happy to give a brief explanation. So this was kind of the amendment that NDOT assembled based on a number of bits of feedback and engagement they got. I think maybe some other council members' concerns were incorporated to this, but the thing that I was primarily involved with looking at here was the fees for our sidewalk cafe program. So those in this scenario are significantly reduced from what was initially proposed. The absolute maximum that anyone with the biggest sidewalk cafe you could imagine would be paying under this amendment would be $750 annually. Which I think is reasonable when you consider the amount of space that would be utilized in the public right-of-way for sidewalk cafes of that size. And the fees for smaller sidewalk cafes are also considerably reduced from what was proposed. If anybody has any questions about other specifics of the amendment, I'm happy to answer them, or NDOT is present to address those. I'd ask for y'all support.
Great, thank you, Councilmember. Does anybody have anything? Councilmember Spain, I will call you in just a second. I will just also note that there's one change in here that I appreciate. I reached out to the folks at NDOT about, which is instead of an automatic escalator every year forever, what it does is it makes it where in 2030 there has to be a new feed study. So if it turns out we have escalated it beyond what would be market to similar cities, then that continued escalation would not continue. Councilmember Spain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would the sponsor just, and I'm sorry if I've missed this along the way, but just clarify what the change to the sections pertaining to sidewalk cafes is. It was originally a per square foot fee, and it's gone to breaking it down into these 3 subsections.
Yes, so initially there was right-of-way use fee as well as a square foot fee. And in looking at that, it would have made it probably cost prohibitive for a lot of installations. It certainly wouldn't have done anything to incentivize these installations, which in my view are sort of a public good in activating space where there is space to do these kinds of things. So yeah, the biggest change is getting away from that square foot calculation to kind of this stair-stepped flat fee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that. Was there any consideration given to, and this may be an NDOT question, but was there any consideration given to just a flat fee, either you have a sidewalk cafe or you don't? Is there a rationale to breaking it down by how much area they use?
Councilmember, do you want to take that or you want to kick it to NDOT?
I mean, my perspective on that is that, taking up a larger space is going to lead to probably more inspections, more complaints, more overhead for our NDOT inspectors to deal with through the process. But if NDOT would like to speak to that, I'd be more than welcome to.
All right. Is there a representative of NDOT here who would like to speak to that?
Good evening, Diana Alarcon with NDOT. For the same reasons that the Councilmember Parker spoke, the cost of going out and actually being responsible for the different areas of inspection, we stair-stepped it. Plus also at looking at what and how some other cities that we felt were more similar to Nashville, we sort of put it in line with that as well. So that's where we came up with the stair-step amount.
Member Spain, do you have any further questions?
I don't. Thank you for that. Thank you, the sponsor.
Okay. Councilmember Allen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see some changes on the excavation permit piece as well that talk about the first 500 feet. And I just have to confess, I'm not savvy enough to be able to know how that compares with the original version, which looked to me like it was just a flat fee. Could I get someone to speak to that?
Director?
Thank you very much, Diana Alarcon. Originally, it was 50 feet, 50 linear feet, and we moved it, looking at it, going back and looking at the excavation permits and what the average was of them. Most of them were below the 500 feet, so we moved it up. We had some concerns from a few of the fiber industry companies and felt like every permit that they ever pulled was roughly around 500 feet. So at the 50 feet, it would have been more costly for them. At this, it would probably keep them in line with the actual escalation of the rates.
Councilmember, do you have any more questions?
One little follow-up. I think fiber is great. It's how we bring Nashville into this century, and it needs to be available in all parts of town. There have been some issues with tree damage, and I'm a tree hugger. And so can we be sure that we'll still be able to inspect and make sure that the contractors are following the protocols they're required to?
We certainly hope that we'll have that opportunity. One of the things, this is a cost recovery. This is looking at what it actually costs for us to do business today. And as you can see, we are actually not collecting anywhere near the amount of fee that we should to run that side of the house. So with the additional fee increase, the mayor has allowed us to put and keep that money, some of that money in our budget to hire people so that we can get out and do better inspections and protect the right of way better than what we have done in the past because we've had to work within the budget means that we have.
Okay. Councilmember Suara?
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me, even though I'm not on your committee. I'm not on the committee, but I'm grateful for the amendment for that particular part of the fee because it was one that I received a lot of complaints about. And so it also shows that the amendment is now in line with the recommendation in the actual report. So my question to NDOT is this. The original recommendation was outside what the report said. So now we're doing a recommendation that is in line with what other cities are doing. Did we do the same thing for the other fees that are on this report? And how do we know that the remaining fees are now fair and equitable and comparable to other cities?
Director?
Thank you for that question. So the study that was done was based on the actual cost of us managing the program today. So when the study was done, it looked at what it cost us as a department for excavation, for right-of-way permit, sidewalk closure, everything along that line. What we did in working through these last few things is look at what other cities have done, as well as listening to the industry. Please keep in mind, some of these adjustments that we've made are not going to bring us in line with what there was recommended in the study to recoup the fees that we are currently not collecting. So yes, it keeps us in line with the industry. It meets a compromise with the different industries that have been asking for this, but it's still, the study was based on cost recovery of what it costs for us to do business today. And so in essence, some of the changes that are being made, really other than the outside dining, because the outside dining probably wasn't a good way of approaching how to activate, I want to say. The way it was structured is a practice in other cities. But I would say that in our city, because we're just starting to grow the sidewalk dining, we want to activate it a little bit more. That's why the adjustment was made differently to that. Was to really incentivize that program and get it up and going. Right now, we have 15 permits that have been executed. They are all on second, and through the special event permit, they are allowed to do that at no cost. For them to come back in January when that permit is no longer in place, they would be paying a fee if it was under the current program of close to about, maybe some of them would be $5,000 to $8,000. And I've had many of the business owners tell me it's just not worth the bang for the buck to do that. So in the conversation with the council member about what would be the best bang of buck, and then also the real intent behind this was to actually incentivize it. That's where we came up with the different program of stair stepping it up. So basically, you'll pay one fee from 0 to 500 square feet. You'll pay a different fee from 501 to 1,000, and anything above 1,000 will be another fee. So we eliminated completely the per square foot and just pretty much flatlined it under those 3 stair steps because they are taking up more of the public space, and as well as it's going to require us to make sure that they're maintaining the appropriate public space and not stretching beyond that. So that's that, but the rest of it really, with some of the changes we're making, the assumptions that were made in the study were based on current practices and what was written in code, and we have adjusted it because we've heard from the industry. But in essence, we won't be making a full recoup in the dollars that it takes to actually run the business.
All right, thank you, Director. I'm going to kick it back to you with the caveat that there will be a update and a slide deck and opportunity for questions in budget that I think details a lot of this, so that may answer some of your questions. Okay, all right, I'm getting an okay. Does anybody else have any questions on the amendment? Okay, I will also note that another question that I posed to NDOT to consider for amendment was the idea of a lot of people are under contract on land, have bought land, have maybe not started pulling permits on land, but they have done a budget based on current fees. And I did ask NDOT to take a look at whether it made sense to put something in the amendment to protect those property owners who have already made an investment and are making investments under one assumption. And my understanding from NDOT is that actually they took a look at that. And Director, if you would just very quickly tell everybody what you told me and why that's not in here and why that's not necessary, I think that'll answer some questions we've been getting as well.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. So the fees are set to begin and become effective on January the 5th. So if somebody actually puts in for the permit prior to January 5th, they will be at the old fees. Anyone who comes in and applies for fees after January 5th will be under the new ones. So they would be in effect. So if they came in and submitted for their permits for whatever they needed to do prior to January 5th, they would be under the current fee structures we have today. The current fees do not go in place until January the 5th.
Yep, and I think my understanding from you as well is that most work already under construction or contemplated even to be under construction is actually already permitted for several years out. So
Correct.
there's actually like a pretty significant lag.
Yeah, some of the bigger projects, they're 2 to 3 year projects. So when we're building that out, we're considering all of that under that structure. So we would just say, get it in before January 5th. So it's all taken into consideration.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor of Amendment 1, say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, I think we're still at 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. All right, Councilmember Hill, would you like to be recognized?
Yes, I'd like to move my amendment 2.
Can I get a second? All right, Councilmember, would you like to explain your amendment?
Yeah, so basically what this does is this creates accountability so that I understand everything that they're saying that you're going to do. And if they increase the fees to the first time to hire, say, 10 inspectors, and then they have those 10 inspectors and they've increased the speed in which they've done the inspections and moved things along, that they come back to us with KPIs that year and say, we've done this. Okay, fine, cool, let's continue on. But it's just kind of a check and balances so that we can kind of say that we're moving in the direction that we need to move.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Does anybody have any questions or want to? Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarification, can the sponsor explain the difference in how the KPIs affect the fee increase in this amendment as opposed to the report that's included in the Amendment 1 that we just passed?
Thank you, Councilmember.
The only difference is we get to make a decision on the KPIs. The other just sends us a bunch of reports, and we all get a bunch of reports. And if we don't like the report and we don't agree with what's happened, then our hands are just tied. They're just going to get another fee increase, and we don't have a say. And that's what this does.
Councilmember Parker, did you raise your hand?
I did, and I'll say that I'm kind of marinating on this one still. I think broadly, like the moving things over to NDOT as they've kind of propped up as a department and staffed up, like moving decision-making over to them. I'm a lot more comfortable with things like that than I would have been, say, 4 years ago at this point. But the question of like, if we see like runaway fee increases, like this is going to be a question for Director Darby. Director Darby, like if we could, even if we pass this legislation as amended or without the amendment, whatever, like if a member saw a serious issue with a fee or somebody came to them and said, hey, we've got a real issue with these fees, they're not working, we could file legislation to modify those fees in the future, right? This is not like once this passes, we never have any say over the fees in the future.
Oh, sorry, sorry, yes.
Yeah, that's correct. You can revisit the fees, and bear in mind also the fees have to represent the recovery of the reasonable cost of the service to provide whatever the fee is associated with.
Got it. Okay. So I'm personally comfortable with the 5-year. I forgot exactly how it's worded, but the kind of interval and accountability that's spelled out in the existing legislation. So I'm either going to abstain or vote no on this, but I'm not sure how I'll vote on the floor on the amendment. I'm not sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. And Director, I think you wanted to speak to that too.
I did, if I could, just for a moment. I just also want to remind the council that we have to bring all of this before you as part of our budget process. So there's also an opportunity that if you feel that we're not delivering at that level, that you can actually deny this through our budgetary process. So I just want to let you know there is also that check mark available at that time.
All right, thank you, Director. Councilmember Hill, did you, hold on. I'm seeing some people pick up microphones, so if folks could just raise their hand. Councilmember Spain, Councilmember Coopin, are you raising your hand? Okay, Councilmember Spain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This I guess is for the administration table. Are there any other fees like this throughout Metro that have these sort of automatic escalators without coming back to council?
Would somebody at the administration table like to take that question, or does it need to be repeated for the administration table?
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, so the question is, are there any other fees in the code that have automatic escalators?
Madam Chair, Dave Rosenberg with the Mayor's Office. The question is about whether there are other fees that come back to council. There are other fees that go through other bodies, TNP and TLC, for example. I don't know whether they end up informing or also getting approval through the council for those fee changes.
Yeah, I think the specific question was, are there any other fees that have automatic escalators without coming back to council?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's
Yes.
the inverse of what you
Thank
just
you.
answered.
Yes, codes, permits fees, and water fees have an annual increase based on CPI.
Councilmember Spain, anything further?
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Coopin.
Thank you, Chair. I've got something on the next amendment, so I'm good.
Oh.
Not looking to be.
Oh, got it. Anything, so further on this amendment? Okay. I also would add, I really like the reporting requirements. I have a little bit of heartburn over just section 3, so I'm not sure how I'll be tomorrow, but I'm going to abstain from this one tonight as I marinate on that. All in favor, if y'all could raise your hands, that would be incredibly helpful. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. Any against? 0 against, and any not voting? 1, 2, 3, 4 not voting. Okay, so 6 in favor, 0 against, and 4 not voting. Council Member Coopin, back to you.
Thank you so much, Chair. So I have an amendment that I'm actually not going to move, but I wanted to explain, if I may. So as we know, affordable housing is an incredibly important topic in our city, and as these fees come up, it will impact development across the board, but especially affordable housing, making those projects cost more money. In other sections of the code, we actually have a provision reducing the fees by 25% for workforce housing that is defined in the code. So I wanted to pick that up with this amendment. I've had some great conversations with the director of NDOT as well as the director of the Office of Housing. And there were some concerns that were raised about specifying exactly what percentage reduction and what would qualify for it. And there's some language in the code that actually probably needs to be updated because it was written before we have new terminology. So I'm not going to move the amendment now. I'm working on something to late file, which I don't love to do, but I think given the kind of tight turn on some of this will make sense, just asking the departments to work together and bring a recommendation back to council on what affordable housing reduction we can do. So not going to move the amendment, but I hope to have something for tomorrow's meeting for consideration.
Thank you, Councilmember. I appreciate the sentiment and the willingness to work with the folks who are experts in housing and make sure that's crafted well. And if it doesn't make it by tomorrow, there's always the option of a resolution asking them to do that. So, with nothing further on this one, so Amendment 3 is not moved. And are we voting on it as amended with both? Okay, all right. Now we're going to talk about it as amended with both. Any further questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor as amended with amendments 1 and 2, say aye, or raise your hands, raise your hands. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope, hold on. Okay, I can't, you got to raise them high. Yeah, there we go. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, Miss Webb, I'm sorry, council member, you're not on my committee. You can vote on it later. All right, raise them high again. 1, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting as amended to approve. All right. And our last item on this agenda, item number 9, BL 2025-1108, an ordinance authorizing the renaming of South Street to King Hollins Avenue. Sponsors Swore and Vote, Horton, Evans, Siegel, Welsh, Hill, Allen, Ellis, Gamble, Ewing, Porterfield, Cap, and Webb. Can I get a motion? Can I get a second? All right. I understand this needs to be deferred one meeting because it has to, more than one meeting because it has to go to, Councilmember Swara is not on this committee, but she will explain it so that one of you can move it.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is it's already been considered by planning, and it has an overwhelming support by the community. You can watch the video. King Holland is an amazing man that did a lot in the community, so I want to put that out there. But even though planning overwhelmingly supports it, it hasn't gone through the emergency division yet, and they need to sign off on it. And so for that, we're asking for 2 meeting deferrals so we can get that approval on record before we move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. Can I get a motion from somebody on the committee? 2 meetings. 2 meetings. It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, that is 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting to move 2 amendments. Oh, wait, do we have any updates on here, Councilmember Allen? Nope. No updates this meeting. And with that, we are adjourned.